Word. Well, good evening once again. Welcome to the Rosehill show, where we talk and discuss many issues, many current global issues, local issues. Of course, we're still talking a lot about the Hurricane Irma, who, these hurricanes that have just passed through the Caribbean and wreaked havoc. You're talking about these hurricanes, all of them, from Harvey to Irma. All these hurricanes that have just been challenging us way in the Caribbean, across there in Puerto Rico, challenged in the United States, all challenged. We're praying really. In Barbados, some significant aid has been going up. We're a launching pad for many relief agencies that are coming into Barbados and just launching out into the rest of the Caribbean that has been affected. I want to bless the Barbadians who are really giving. I mean, I was discussing this with a gentleman just the other day, and the heart of Barbados is just big, and they're giving and giving. God bless you. Continue to give. Continue to help who you can, and continue to pray for them. Most of all, and when and if you can, please go and help right on the ground right there. This evening we have an exciting show for you. We're going to be having Apostle Lynroy Scantlebury, and he is the senior apostle of the World Harvest Ministries International, and he has formed a political party from the last election, really. So he has some experience in this, and we're going to be chatting with him this evening to see how that is going, how his preparations are really for the upcoming political campaign, which is set ready to be heated. So we're going to be talking to him about how he views the economy, how he views international affairs. If he does become the prime minister of this country, what will he change first? What will he change second? We could be talking about a number of things with this exciting young man who has a big vision for what Barbados can and should be. So we'll be talking about that. So we'll be back with you very, very, very soon. And as I said, please continue to give to the nations that are affected. Please continue to pray for them. And please continue to thank God for the fact that we have been spared. And as I said to the gentleman I was speaking to yesterday, God bless you, as he revealed something that is so amazing to me. He said, maybe we've been spared so that we can give and we can help. So I want you to remember that. Be grateful, be thankful. I know there are some people out there saying, oh, hey, I'm hungry too, or there are poor people in Barbados as well. But that's true. But Barbados has always been a giving people, and we don't want to change that. Wherever we can help, let us continue to help those who are in need, whether they be local or international. Let's take what little we have. That's how we've been raised for generations, to just lend what we have, take the little we have, and give it. Do you know what? I believe that's one of the reasons why God continues to bless this nation, because we are givers, and this is certainly a need that we can give into there in Dominica, there in Barbuda, wherever the U.S. Virgin Islands, in Puerto Rico, wherever we can help, even in the USA, if we can just extend a hand to them. Wherever we can help, let's help, because we don't know when it will be our turn that we will be on the other end asking for some help. So, keep praying for them where you can, and if you can go and help pray for somebody, rebuild something, and I believe that the Lord will bless you. Well, as I said, this evening we have an exciting show, and stay tuned for our talk with Apostle Lynroy Scantlebury. That's going to be exciting. That's going to be after our first 5 minutes of inspiration. Then we'll come right back and we'll talk to Apostle Lynroy Scantlebury after that segment. I'll see you soon. And you are listening to and watching, the Rosehill show, where we are going to be talking in a couple of minutes to Apostle Lynroy Scantlebury. He's a minister for several years. As a matter of fact, from the age of 18, he's been ministering. We'll be talking about that a bit. And then a few years ago, the Lord led him to form a political party. And we'll be talking to him about that and how he is, just preparing for the next election. But before we get into that, I want to talk to you a bit about exploring new initiatives in your life. There, the economy of Barbados is shrinking, and economies all in different various places in the world are shrinking. But do not let that cause you to reduce the size of your visions. There are many opportunities that are out there globally. You need to hit the internet. You need to begin to explore the World Wide Web. There are several opportunities out there that you can get involved in, legitimate opportunities that you can get involved in, to invest, to explore your ideas, to connect with people, to form websites for free and sell things. So I just want to encourage you to do that. One of the things that we've been talking about here consistently is the fact that many of us were not taught to be entrepreneurs in school. As a matter of fact, if you ended up being an entrepreneur in after school, it was really because you did not do well in school. So in our head, really, entrepreneurship was for that individual who did not do well in school, who couldn't cut it in class or whatever. That's also something that we push people into when they weren't doing well in school. We pushed them into a trade. So in our minds, tradesmen and entrepreneurship were for the uneducated, and this is something that we need to change, because doing carpentry, doing masonry, plumbing, etc., requires an exceptional amount of intelligence. If you've ever built a house or worked around any of these artisans, you will realize that they have to have tremendous mathematical skills. They must be able to communicate their intentions properly. They must be able to interpret your intentions properly. As a matter of fact, you go to a draftsman, or let's go back to a carpenter. You go to a carpenter and you tell him, I want this type of roof, I want that type of roof, a gable roof or a hip roof. Well, I'm saying these things because I heard them. I can't even hammer a nail straight, but that's okay. I've been around with some artisans. My uncle, my father, my brothers, they're all artisans. But one of the things that happens is that they take the things that you're saying and they begin to, they begin to now translate it into that thing which you can live under or which you see. So that requires an exceptional amount of interpretive skills. Now, we don't often give much credit to these guys, but and they often don't boast enough about their skills. But you're talking about a man that from the time he hears what you say, he knows the type of wood to use, he knows the type of nails to use, and he knows all these things. So that is, and very often they've picked these things up along the way. So I want to encourage you really to begin to expand your possibilities. In this crunching economic situation that we have in Barbados, maybe you need to learn a new skill. But most of all, I want you to pursue entrepreneurship. Go on the World Wide Web. I was talking about that in a couple of seconds ago. Go on the World Wide Web. There are tremendous amount of opportunities, investment opportunities that you can get involved in. You do not, if you've gone home and there's nothing seemingly to do, I'm telling you, if you hit the web and you begin to do some research, you'll recognize that you can make some money, sitting down on the web. You don't have to just use your phone for things like Facebook or social media. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of people who are just using Facebook to publish things that are not really important. But if you go around, if you take there are people who, if anything happens, they film it. If anything happens, they film it. They film the good, the bad, and the indifferent. I was just watching a video with a guy hanging out the bus. People film the good, the bad, and the indifferent. If they would take that desire to film the good, the bad, and the indifferent and go around Barbados and become a news reporter, then I'm just giving you ideas. I'm just showing you that within your grasp, that thing called your phone can make you money. It can make you known every day. You can begin to do a Facebook live feed, And if it is good enough, you can seek sponsorship. There are a lot of things that you can do. I'm just encouraging you to begin to explore your possibilities. Don't just depress yourself because there is no work to do. So I want to encourage you, explore your possibilities. If you've been sent home, that's very, very unfortunate. We don't ever want any person to lose their job. But I want to encourage you, explore your possibilities. Hit the net. Take some time to reflect on the things you're good at. Learn a trade. Do something. And I'm telling you that when you come out on the other side, you'll be a better person. Well, we'll be right back. You were watching Time to Inspire. It's Time to Inspire. We'll be right back with a chat with our Apostle Lynroy Scantlebury. It's going to be an exciting discussion as we talk to him about his views about the country of Barbados. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons who were recently featured on the Rosehill show here with me today. First is Joycelyn Wong. Joycelyn, how are you today?
I am fine, thank you. And yourself?
I am great. And what do you think about the Rosehill show?
Well, I think the Rosehill show is a unique tool for evangelism. That's how I see the Rosehill show. In addition to being able to talk about your businesses, give your testimony, I do believe it's a unique tool of evangelism.
Nice. And how was your experience on the show?
I had a great experience. I was able to speak about some of the services that I offer. And yes, some of them, because there are more. So to speak about more would have taken up the whole show. So, but I did have a good experience. I was able to, like I said, I was able to speak about some of the services, and that was a good opportunity to do so.
Nice. So this is Joycelyn Wong, and she was one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Joycelyn, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
Unconventional.
Unconventional. Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons here with me who have recently been featured on the Rosehill show. Antonio, step on in. I have here Antonio Williams. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. What do you think about the Rosehill show?
I think the Rosehill show is a very good avenue for people to display their businesses. For example, if you are a hairdresser, it's a good avenue to have a voice and show people what you can do.
Yes, yes. And how was your experience on the show?
I had a great experience where I was able to display my entrepreneurship skills,
Nice.
via my stepping stones, lawn maintenance, and giving people a voice on how to take care and maintain their property.
Nice. And there we have Antonia Williams, one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Antonia, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
Well, one word is limited in, but I would say that the show is explosive.
Explosive.
Welcome back to the Rosehill show. We have with us Apostle Lynroy Scantlebury, the senior apostle, the senior apostle elder at World Harvest Ministries International. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you, sir. Thank
How are you doing?
Doing fantastic.
You know, for as long as I've known you, you look sharp.
I try to keep it that way. So try to stay with you. You know?
Man, you were ahead of me, man. I was asking about your shoes, your gold tip shoes with the Lion of the tribe of Judah on it. She's standing on the foundation of the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I like that. I like that. How have things been going with the ministry?
Fantastic. This year has been a tremendous year for us at World Harvest, and for myself, my wife, and our membership. It's been fantastic what the Lord's been doing. We've seen a lot of tremendous breakthroughs, a lot of victories, a lot of manifestations. Our ministry overseas has been tremendous, and broadcast has been tremendous, and so we've seen a lot of things this year. So 2017 has been a fantastic year. We're looking forward to what the Lord is going to do in 2018.
Well, you travel pretty extensively. You know, where I am almost tempted to ask, where haven't you been? But where have you been? What are some of the countries you've touched?
Well, I've basically traversed right across the United States, been into England, I've been right across the Caribbean, into the U.S. All of the countries really that within the Caribbean I've touched at some point. And I'm looking forward to reaching further into the the Asian market right now, trying to make some connections with individuals there, and also looking to expand ministry. My desire is to have Barbados as my base and to reach out from Barbados.
Okay.
And over the years I've had several opportunities to leave Barbados, but I've never accepted them because I think Barbados has something special to offer as far as the kingdom and the gospel message is concerned. So this is one of the things I want to do. I'll go to countries, but Barbados is my base.
Wow, that's an amazing vision. Well, you're the chief executive of Scantlebury Investments.
Yes, sir.
Could you tell me a bit about that?
Well, I started Scantlebury Investments about 7 years ago as the business arm of what I wanted to achieve. And very strong in the area of prosperity, in the area of finances. And so I had an opportunity when I was returning from England. I was sitting next to a gentleman and started to engage him in conversation and found out he was the Caribbean coordinator for Lloyd's Bank TSB.
Okay.
And so he started to share some things with me that the bank was looking to do within the Caribbean. And he was coming to Barbados for one night, then going to Jamaica, and then coming back to Barbados. So when he came back to Barbados, I had the chance to meet briefly with him, and he shared some things with me in terms of what's going on in the financial market and some easy things that I can actually do to enhance my financial portfolio. So I started the Scantlebury Financial Investments based on that principle to help generate a level of income for myself and my family. As a minister, finances are very, very important if you're going to be able to do the things that the Lord has called you to do. So this allows me to operate outside of Barbados with individuals and connect with individuals who are doing things in terms of investing, stocks and bonds and other companies that are, very lucrative. So I got exposed to that level of information, and I started Scantlebury Investment as a subsidiary to work within that sphere beyond church.
Wow. Well, how now we live in Barbados, we minister in Barbados, and this is not the typical thinking of the church. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think we have been evangelized improperly, and then we have the wrong concept of what the Bible is all about,
okay,
and what kingdom is all about. We have been evangelized by what I call the white man's gospel, which is, try to live as good as you can, and then don't worry about having anything here. You'll get it all when you get to heaven, what we call pie in the sky by and by.
Right.
But we live in what I call the sweet here and now. And their bills to pay, their children to raise, their vehicles to pay for, their houses to pay for, there's land to pay for, there's ministry, there's travel. And so a lot of people have not been structured properly as it relates to the Bible's message as it regards productivity. And so one of the things that God hates is unproductivity. And we have so many people who believe that being unproductive is being holy. I don't subscribe to that concept. Jesus said, do business until I come. And so that's part of what I do for myself, and what I try to encourage our members at World Harvest. Get involved in the system, get involved in what is going on in the age. Make sure that you have the finances, make sure that you're involved in something wholesome that's going to bring you honest money, that you can live the way how God wants you to live. And it's a change of consciousness that has to come to the body of Christ. If not, we're going to see a lot more poverty in the church, even more than what we're seeing right now.
You said it is a bold statement for you to say that it is a white man's.
Yeah, well, it's the white man's, and I'm not racist. I'm just saying that for an individual to come to Barbados via boat or via airplane and tell you you don't need all of these good things, you don't need any money while you're here, and he's already coming to your country via plane. He's already traveling. He's already coming via boat. He's
Yes.
experiencing the world, and then to tell you that you don't need to experience it, you don't need to have it. Somebody's paying for his flight, somebody's paying for his travel, and then there you are as an individual, as a black individual, saying to yourself, well, I'm going to get it all when I get to glory. And they, use scriptures about, Job lost all that he had, and but the Bible tells us in Job 42 that God turned his captivity and gave him twice as much as he had. They never shared that with us. And we remember that Job was the richest man in the East when he first had that first share. So if he now has double what he had before, now what is he? He has to be the richest man in the world now. And so I follow these principles that are in the Bible, and I do not allow anyone to interfere with my conscious state of what I know to be accurate where the Bible is concerned.
One of the things that I've understood, following the track and the train of what you're saying, is that the gospel that has been presented to us and allowed to flow throughout the church really is the beginning gospel, or I would say the childlike things or the immature things, because we were treated as a mission field, right? And you do not, when you go on a mission field, you strip yourself. That's basically a missionary methodology. Right. You strip yourself of all your stuff, and you carry a simple gospel message to tell the people, focus on Jesus, which is the beginning. Right. But as the message matures beyond salvation, it has to mature to, how do you function here?
Exactly.
But that is not what the church matured into in the region. It stayed at the point of salvation, rather than the going to a point of making the gospel the type of message that helps people improve their lives. Right? So how would you're speaking to a person who is fully convinced that this thing about prosperity is not for them? What do you say to them?
Well, I would first of all explain to them what Jesus' mission statement is. He said, I came that we, you, and I may have life, and have that life more abundantly. Jesus said that. And so that's what I stick to. I stick to what Jesus said. That's what my spiritual dad, Dr. Robert, said. He said, you stick to what Jesus said. And so there are many forms of teaching that comes within the body of Christ that interferes with the mainstream of what God wants us to do. Now, when you follow the train of the Bible deals with how rich people interact with poor people. It's not how poor people interact with rich people. It's actually the other way around. And so all of the men in the Bible, from Adam to Abraham to Joseph to David to Solomon, and all of these men that we read about in the Bible, we read about their wealth. God promised them, I will make you wealthy. I will make you great. It's always the promise of God. Even when the angel spoke to Mary, the angel said, and he shall be great. And so I try to help people to understand, you follow the story of the Bible, follow the story of God. God has always planned to take an individual, to take a man, to take a woman, and move them from where they are to where he wants them to be supernaturally. If you look at Ruth, where she started out and then where she ended up marrying the richest man in Bethlehem, it's always been a plan. Joseph goes to Egypt, he ends up in prison. The same day he comes out, he becomes prime minister. It's the story. I mean, Mordecai was there at the king's gate. When it was all over, he was the second man in charge. And so I see this principle in the Bible that I've followed it over and over. I've studied it over and over and over until I made sure that I have it right, that I can then disseminate it to my members and my friends, individuals that I meet, to help them to understand when you are dealing with God, you cannot associate anything called poverty with God.
Now, I want to use as a platform to go into the next level of my question.
Yes, sir.
Your desire, what I'm hearing you saying is that based on your reading and studying of the Word of God, that you believe that God wants to move people, all people that are connected to Him,
yes, sir,
into
sir.
wealth, into a better life.
Yeah.
You formed a couple of years ago the New Barbados. I like that introduction. The New Barbados.
Yes, sir.
New Barbados Kingdom Alliance. And with such a philosophy of moving people into wealth, into provision, into abundance, I am wondering whether this was one of the founding principles behind the founding of this political party.
Yeah, it's actually a part of it. 2005, I had a vision from the Lord regarding Barbados and its destiny, where He plans to take Barbados. And as part of the revelation of that vision, He said, I am going to begin to raise up my people that will lead this country. This is 2005. He said, I will raise up my people that will lead this country into a new day of righteousness and blessing and glory. And He said Barbados will become the mecca of the move of the kingdom worldwide. And in 2012, the Lord began to speak to me about stepping this and starting this movement of creating a new organization. I don't like to use the word third party because it's not a term that I like. I consider the MBKA to be a part of the alternative.
I am amazed at the word third party as well. Because you can't say that Solutions Barbados, Integrity Barbados, the UPP, the New Barbados Kingdom Alliance,
right.
and I think there are two others.
Yeah.
You can't say that they're third parties.
Right.
Somebody got to be a fourth. You know, I mean, it's just mathematics.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how all these parties could be third parties.
Right.
You have to have a fourth and a fifth. It's just
Right.
just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I said to I had Scott Weatherhead here last week. It was wonderful
Okay.
talking to him. And you know, I said a part of a maturing democracy is the emergence of different parties.
Exactly. And I think the time is ripe. I never really expected to see so many, alternative parties, but it kind of lends to what the Lord said about raising up people. I've spoken to a number of ministers across the island about the MBKA becoming a part of it. And a lot of people have this idea that politics is dirty. But at some point in time, you have to make a decision to change the diaper on the baby.
Correct.
And a lot of people seem to be afraid to step up and do it. But the time has come for Barbados to have a solid government, and a government that is comprised of individuals that will not be involved in corruption, individuals that will bring a fresh understanding, a fresh vision to where this country should be going, the path that it should be on. And I think the time is right for it.
Wow. Well, we're going to discuss that. But how do you see Barbados now? I mean, we are Standard & Poor's have said that we are number 128 in the world. They rate 130 countries, and we are 128. We have a credit rating of CCC, down from BAA 9 years ago. We've dropped 20, not 20. That's amazing.
That's serious, and it says to us that there are a number of things that are wrong with our present governmental structure. And one of the things that we have to understand that interferes with the finances of a nation is when your judicial system is corrupt.
Okay.
See, and a lot of people don't understand that when your judiciary is corrupt, your finances will eventually become corrupted. And this is what we're seeing in Barbados. We're seeing where there's huge corruption in our judiciary, and it kind of lends to what's happening in the financial realm. And we'll talk more about this as we talk more about government, so that we have a better understanding of what's going on and how things should be working. But Barbados is in a very bad shape right now financially. The debt at 16 billion US dollars is horrible at this point. And to get out of that debt is what is necessary right now. And I'll share some more about the 2-year plan that the Lord shared with me to actually get Barbados out of that, to wipe that debt out.
You think it is possible?
Based from what the Lord has shown me about it, how to structure it and how to go about doing it, it possibly will even happen before the 2 years.
Well, the minister have said that, well, some of the ministers, let me say the minister, but politicians and the ruling party have come on and said that they're comfortable with the path that the country is on economically. Some may say that as a ridiculous statement. They may have information that we don't have. What do you think of a statement like that?
Well, there's always a governmental system where you say things to try to calm people down. It's always been a tactic used by governments over the years not to cause mass hysteria. But those of us who live here, who have to go to the supermarket on a daily basis, we know something's wrong. We can tell that something isn't right. A $16 billion debt in a small developing country like Barbados is a horrible position to be in. And then we're looking at all of these different downgrades that are coming back to back to back. It says something. Something needs to change. Something needs to happen to stop this spiral.
Is the ruling party on the right track when you find a time? Well, the Minister of Finance said today, I think it was today, that they have taken in $50 million from the NSRL, and it's proof that it's working. They have not yet looked at the VAT on it, but that's based on what Barbados today said.
Okay.
And you know, he's excited, seemingly excited based on what they've reported. Seemingly excited about it because they're taking in money, and they have paid off some of the bills, you know, that the QH had and different things, and so it seems to be working. What do you think of the NSRL? Some people think it's a tax from hell. Well, they raised it by 400%. I mean, from 2 to 10%. It's a burden on.
It is a tremendous burden on the public here in Barbados, and this idea of constantly taxing your own people, taxing them out of existence, is really what this is almost about. And then you have all these other levels of taxations going on across Barbados. I think that it is important for government to find better ways and more efficient ways to bring money into the economy rather than just constantly taxing your own people. And they have not been able to come up with any better ideas other than just finding some new way to tax the people. Now, when you get to the point where you're in 2017, where you're taxing soft drinks, you are in a bad state. It was the Minister of Health that, as far as I remember, that brought that up. Maybe he's concerned about the 1 in every 10 people in Barbados being diabetic. So he's probably being proactive as far as that is concerned. Well, we're having tremendous issues here in Barbados, and I think some things can be done. The MBKA, we have some very carefully mapped out policies that we are going to be bringing to the table. I've shared some of them with other individuals, and as I said, we're bringing something new. That's why it's called the New Barbados Kingdom Alliance, because whatever is going to change Barbados has to be something new. It has to be something fresh.
Well, we're going to take a break, and we'll come right back, and we'll pick it up from there. We'll talk a bit more about taxation, and a bit more about your philosophy. 20 minutes has gone already.
Sure.
But it's good chatting with you, and we'll be right back.
Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons here with me who were recently featured on the Rosehill show. And I have Kailashi. Kai, come on in. How are you doing, Kai?
I am doing great. How are you?
I am great. What do you think about the Rosehill show?
I think the show was actually really great when it was on it. I think it's serving its purpose of giving those persons that don't have a voice, a voice, right?
Yes.
Being on that show, it was great, man.
And how was your experience then, other than great?
It was exciting, right? It was exciting. Just being in that environment, especially as an entrepreneur, in an interview, it brings things, to life. It was real. I love that for sure, right? And I think it's going to really impact network individuals as well.
And there you have Kai Lashi, one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Kai, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
One word. I would say impactful.
Nice. Impactful. Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons who were recently featured on the Rosehill show here with me today. First is Joycelyn Wong. Joycelyn, how are you today?
I am fine, thank you. And yourself?
I am great. And what do you think about this Rosehill show?
Well, I think the Rosehill show is a unique tool for evangelism. That's how I see the Rosehill show. In addition to being able to talk about your businesses, give your testimony, I do believe it's a unique tool of evangelism.
Nice. And how was your experience on the show?
I had a great experience. I was able to speak about some of the services that I offer.
Some.
And yes, some of them, because there are more. So to speak about more, I would have taken up the whole show. So, but I did have a good experience. I was able to, like I said, I was able to speak about some of these services, and that was a good opportunity to do so.
Nice. So this is Joycelyn Wong, and she was one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Joycelyn, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
Unconventional.
Unconventional.
Well, we are back. We are back with Apostle Lynroy Scantlebury, pastor for several years, and he is the founder of the New Barbados Kingdom Alliance. And we were talking about some of the things that are going on, how you see Barbados. And you said in 2005 the Lord gave you a vision,
Right.
and then after that you started a political party, really put in action to your vision.
Yes, sir.
And in the midst of our previous conversation, you did speak about a 2-year plan that you have. So let's talk a bit about that.
Okay. Well, we're looking at the debt, and I was, as a minister, you have those times where you're, talking with the Lord about things, and he said, I'm going to give you a 2-year plan. I'm going to show you a 2-year plan to get that debt erased in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then he started.
We're talking about $16 billion.
$16 billion.
Wow.
And Lord said, started sharing with me. He said, no, I showed Joseph how to handle Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
I showed Daniel how to handle Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you how to handle Barbados.
Okay.
And he started to walk me through some scriptures, and he gave me a 3-point plan to implement within Barbados, and then reaching outside of Barbados.
Okay.
To defray this $16 billion. And when I saw for myself what the Lord showed me, and I said, is that simple? Exactly, it's going to be that simple. And so I have it. I know exactly what I have to do. I know exactly how I have to implement it. I know the people locally that I have to make connections with and show them this vision, as Habakkuk said, write it and make it plain. And the Lord said 2 years, guaranteed 2 years, that debt will be erased, and Barbados will never be in that kind of debt again. Wow. And I know exactly what to do it now. Whether or not I am successful in St. Peter, if a third alternative party wins the government, whether I win my seat or not, I'm going to share it with them.
Okay.
Whether they bring me on board, I'm going to give them the whole strategy. I'm going to show them exactly what the Lord showed me to do, and just leave it up to them. But I'll pass it directly on to them.
If you had the opportunity to lead Barbados, there are a number of things that need fixing right now. Any person look from our educational system to our job situation, to international trade and business, to the treaties that we have signed that are impacting anywhere from human rights to right down from gays to right down to the death penalty. There are a number of things that you would need to address.
Yes, sir.
Where would you start?
My first point to start would be with our judiciary system.
Okay.
I'm going to be very straight where this is concerned. No case in Barbados should be going on for 10 years. Okay? There are too many cases in Barbados that have been going on for so long. People are being hurt by our judiciary system. People are blocking things, stopping things, interfering with the process of justice here in Barbados. And you and I, we're kingdom individuals. We know that when David structured his kingdom, he was the chief judge in his system. Solomon, he passed that to Solomon. and Solomon took care of cases. Moses did the same thing. And so that first system of the judiciary must be sorted out. We must make sure that we have honest and fair judges. We have to get rid of this idea of people coming into our system and corrupting our system here in Barbados. Barbados must be known as a nation where the justice system is fair and swift. Okay. You talked about
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Yes, sir. You talked about the death penalty. I am in favor of that, and I want to make that clear. Whether hanging may be a little bit, unethical in some cases, but lethal injection. But there's too many things going on in this island, and people have gotten to the stage where they're simply saying, I can do this, and I can just go up there in prison and just sit down, and the government has to take care of me. They have to feed me. We're not playing that game.
So what do you say to the man that says that the death penalty is not a deterrent?
No. This again, as my spiritual dad said, you follow what Jesus said. Moses said, if a man disrespects his mother or father, he should be put to death. And we're seeing people who are being horribly slaughtered here in this country, and people are being arrested, and they're just going up there, and time is going by, and we're forgetting about this, and there are families that are out there hurting and crying and disturbed about all of these things that are going on, and the time has come for justice to be served. So that will be my first point of order as it relates to restructuring governance in Barbados. The next area that I would deal with swiftly is our financial area. Okay. Individuals in this country that are not paying their taxes, companies that are not paying their taxes, companies that are not taking care of their employees, they're not treating their employees well. Those are the areas. I've actually listened to individuals brag about not paying taxes and all of that kind of stuff that's happening. Matter of fact, there was one guy who said that one businessman I heard who said he didn't pay $7 million in duties because he paid a million. He didn't pay $7 million in duties because he paid $1 million in bribes. And so that kind of activity has to be stopped in the island of Barbados. And then the third area that I would begin to work on is the church. So I have an idea of how I would begin to address things and how we will begin to deal with all of these areas. And in terms of the gays' right movement, I don't have a problem with that movement, and I don't have a problem with them. They just can't be in Barbados and try to teach that in Barbados. If a person chooses to be gay and they assume that, cool, you commit to making sure that you will work honestly, you will contribute to this country, to the success of this country. But as far as Apostle Scantlebury is concerned, the Bible is strictly against it. I go with what the Bible says, and I want to make sure that people understand that I'm not going to kick you out of the country, but you have to understand that the choice that you have made, the type of life you have chosen to live, is against nature, and it's against God. And so, my structure of presenting things and bringing things to the island of Barbados and the level of governance that has to come is very important to where we're going to go as a nation.
Well, let's go back a bit. You talked about drawing more, causing more companies to be able to pay taxes. So let's talk about the small businesses, who are being adversely impacted by the NSRL. Do you think that small businesses should be required to pay the same level of taxation?
No, I absolutely, I understand economies of scale. But what is important is that we have to restructure, and I don't like the idea or the term small business. Okay, I believe if you have a business and that vision or that business has come within you, it's a great business. You never despise the day of small things. I think people have to look at what is being done, and we have to address how people support Barbados in its development. And we relate to individuals. We have companies that are here in Barbados, and they pay little taxes, and then we have smaller companies that are paying huge amounts of taxes. And I think what we have to do is to learn to balance that where our people are concerned. I think the larger companies need to be able to understand that when you come into Barbados and you want to do business in Barbados, you have to contribute to where Barbados is going as a nation, not just come in and have your this level of Barbados being a tax haven, and then you kind of get off scot-free. But look at ways that you can assist in making Barbados better, and this is where the whole concept of rebranding and rebuilding Barbados as a nation is very, very important. This is what we want to bring to the
You
island.
know, the whole scenario that presents itself in relation to international companies coming into Barbados and having tax breaks or tax havens really was introduced as a means of increasing employment. So the companies pay less taxes, but they employ a lot of people, and then those individuals contribute to the national tax pool. Do you think if you ask those companies to pay increased taxes, don't you see that making Barbados uncompetitive?
No, I actually don't see it making Barbados uncompetitive, because Barbados has to become that nation that is known for wealth. And when a person has an opportunity, if their heart is in the right place, and you have an opportunity to make a nation like Barbados better and even more competitive, to say, listen, this is what we're doing over in Barbados. We're paying this amount of tax. I said, well, you're paying a whole lot, but am I bringing to the table here in Barbados? Am I bringing something better for Barbadians? Am I contributing to where this country is going? And I don't think an increase in tax for offshore companies should run the offshore sector, because when you consider Barbados to the rest of the Caribbean in terms of our amenities and what we offer as a nation, it will still in many cases lend itself to your betterment. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we need to look at that seriously, and we need to help people to understand these offshore sector. We need to help them to understand, listen, this country is going somewhere. We want to offer you the vision we need to help you to come on board with this vision and help Barbados go where it needs to go. So those are the companies who may be thinking on coming into Barbados. So, well, hey, there's some guys over there. They're already working with the government. Barbados is moving. Let's go over there and do what's necessary to help the country become better.
Well, what would you do to make what my word, just for the purpose of the discussion, what would you change to allow for the growth, the growth of small and medium-sized businesses? We have a continuous complaint that there's a lack of access to proper finance,
Right.
And the list goes on and on.
Right.
What would you do to better the environment of Barbados to help them, help those businesses?
This is where I would be speaking with those offshore companies, and I would create what is called a governmental entrepreneurship grant. Mm-hmm. Okay, monies that comes from sources from individuals who in Barbados who have an idea for business, innovation. You come in with us, and we put the right people in place. We look over your project. We look over what you want to do, and we look at the type of funding that you're going to need, and we work with you. We make the monies available to you, and we monitor the money. We monitor what's going on that level, and then what we would require from you is, as you get going, we would give you that grant, but what we want you to do is to in return begin some level of contributing to some other area of Barbados' development, whether it's the educational sector, or whether it's entrepreneurship or innovative sector. But we have to make money available to help people. Okay. When we look at the idea of government, that word government comes from a Latin word gubernamente, guber meaning to steer, to control, to pilot, mente, which is the mind. A government means the controlling of the mind. Okay, So when we're not properly controlling the minds of people, they don't know where to go. And without a vision, people are going to perish. People are not perishing because the devil is powerful. People are perishing because they don't know where they're going. They don't have a vision for how they're going to get to point B. And so that's where the government has to come in and say, hey, look, we know that there are people in our nation with tremendous ideas. The banks are not helping them. Here's what we have to offer you. And we set that system up so that people have access to the kind of funding that they need to do jobs. Now, they say, well, Barbados doesn't have any money, but, every time that the prince comes here, $700 million is spent just to wash the roads. So we're looking at the fact that there is money in Barbados, and why we have to stop the corruption, because the corruption is stopping a lot of individuals who have ideas and who have access to resources and finances from putting them in the place where Barbados can be assisted.
Well, let's push a bit further. The exogenous situations that Barbados continually faces. So we talk about local things,
Right.
So far. The Organization of for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, comprising of just 18 nations, European nations plus the US and Canada, constantly puts things in place to try to, what they say, monitor the flow of finances across the world. I guess that's their intention. But we've been blacklisted a couple of times, etc. So that's one thing that we're facing. And there are other nations. Canada recently passed some laws that impacted on our international business sector, causing us to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. All of that is impacting on the structure of the local economy. So we have to reposition the Barbados economy.
Yes, we do.
There are things that we have to do new in the Barbados economy to bring in new finances. What would you do in relation to repositioning the Barbados economy, both locally and globally?
Okay, well, the first thing that the MBKA, in terms of what our plans are, is to really find out, first of all, we have to find out what is Barbados's financial operations system currently. And then what we do is that we change that financial system to one that involves its people, okay? I think that the people of Barbados needs to be more involved in what's happening. Secondly, what we have to look at is the business sector and begin to work better with our business sector, because a lot of the business sector in Barbados, owners of businesses, they have connections that other individuals don't have. And so the concept that I would bring to our financial system is one of a kingdom structure. Now, when I say kingdom, it is that the people have more involvement in what's happening. And then we're accessing all of the entities, whether it's business, we're looking at church, we're looking at government, we're looking at business. Barbados has to look towards becoming self-sufficient. And here's one of the things that will begin to attract the international market to Barbados. When Barbados is no longer on the zone where it's begging for anything, we should lend to many nations and not borrow.
How do you? I know that and I can understand you don't want to reveal to your plan.
Right.
That's wisdom. But how do you see Barbados? Or maybe before I say how, in what area do you see Barbados becoming self-sufficient?
Okay, and I'll be very honest. I'm glad that you asked that question. Barbados has to become self-sufficient, first of all, financially. Okay, and because we have several other areas where we're operating at a tremendous level, but Barbados has to become self-sufficient in terms of the finances. That's why we need to get rid of that debt. Okay, now once Barbados becomes financially free, it will open the door for the government to be at peace, the business community to function better, and it's going to take a long time to be in $16 billion in debt again. But the reality is that the financial freedom is what is necessary. Now, what we need to do also is to begin to look at all of the other areas where we are being impacted by the world that's not affecting us properly. Okay? And so, you know, they said whenever America has any kind of changes, the rest of the world sneezes. And so we're constantly in this position, Apostle, wherever Canada makes a decision, whenever England makes a decision, whenever America makes a decision, all of a sudden Barbados starts shaking. I think if we get to the place where we understand that our dollar needs to be strong, and we need to have that type of system where what is happening within Barbados sends a message to the rest of the world that this country is very, very stable versus Barbados is unstable. If we get the level of stability in this country financially that we need, governmentally that we need, there's no way that we will look bad to the rest of the world. There's no way that Standards and Poor's and Moody and all those other institutions who are happy to downgrade Barbados, they will not be able to come here and force our government to accept their plans. The IMF will not be able to come and force the government of Barbados to do what they want. I think what is necessary is for Barbados to have a national strategic financial plan, a national strategic financial committee to look at the ways to get with the people who are necessary to bring this country out of where it is and say, this is the way forward, this is where we're going, and get our people behind it and start making sure that Barbados comes out of that 128th position.
Well, we're going to be right back. We're going to be, believe it or not, you know, that the time is flying.
Wow.
It's exciting talking to you. Time is flying, but we'll be right back. We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back, and we'll talk for about 15 minutes more, and then we'll wrap it up.
Sure. Thank you,
okay,
sir.
so we'll be right back.
Good afternoon. My name is Chantal Brewster, and I have just a few persons here with me who were recently featured on the Rosehill show. And I have Kailashi. Kai, come on in. How are you doing, Kai?
I am doing great. How are you?
I am great. And what do you think about the Rosehill show?
You know, I think the show was actually really, really great when it was on it. I think it's serving its purpose of, you know, giving those persons that don't have a voice,
Yes.
a voice, right?
Yes.
You know, being on that show, it was great, man.
And how was your experience then, other than great?
It was exciting, right? It was exciting. You know, just being in that environment, especially as an entrepreneur, you know, in an interview, it brings things, you know, to life. It was real. I love that for sure, right? And I think it's going to really impact network individuals as well.
And there you have Kai Lashi, one of our featured guests on the Rosehill show. And Kai, if you could describe the show in one word, what would it be?
One word. I would say impactful.
Nice. Impactful.
Apostle Lynroy Scantlebury from the New Barbados Kingdom Alliance. You know, a really, really powerful interview and conversation. I'm enjoying this, the global perspective, the very visionary ideas that he has. And I really believe that this is something that Barbados has lost. We've had some very, very visionary leaders over time, but something has happened where,
Yes, sir.
I don't know, we've I remember Kofi Annan said we are a country punching above our weight.
Right.
And punching above our weight, doing amazing things, and now it seems as though we are punching below our weight. What do you think has happened between over that time?
Well, again, what has happened since visionary leaders like you know, the Honorable Edward Barrow that came with a vision. We've lost our visionary leaders. Mm-hmm. You know, I remember when the Honorable Erskine Sandiford had set plans in place for building Sherborne Center. The opposition leader said, "Oh my God, this is a white elephant. This, you know, this is not going to work." No,
everybody uses it.
Everybody's using Sherborne Center.
Yeah.
You see, but because what we need is vision, and right now, neither of the two parties that we have in the last 25 years has offered the people of Barbados a vision.
Wow.
They have not said to the public, this is where we're going to be in the next 5 years. This is where we're going to be in the next 10 years. Neither one of them in 25 years have offered this country a vision. That is our big problem. And because we don't have a vision, because our people don't know where we're going, it is opened a door for other systems to develop. The drug system, the whole area of crime and violence. We've opened up for corruption. We've opened up for all these different things to start happening because the nation does not know where it's going. And so people are beginning to take matters into their own hands.
Well, I want, because I'm here to be fair, to be balanced. I would have read the visionary document. I don't remember what it's called, but the visionary document that Honorable Onafa would have put out. And then I would have read some of what the DLP would have put out in their manifesto. And now I'm reading what the DLP has put out in their way forward. And there's some, as usual, there's some grand plans, right? So, some visionary plans. So they did present a vision, which normally happens during political times anyhow. So I wouldn't say is necessarily fair to say that they didn't present a vision. I think what has happened is that it seems as though there weren't any contingency plans because things can be placed on paper. Okay. But then when you get into the world, and I won't say the real world of governance, because the opposition party right now, if they were to take over the government, there are things that they would discover that I believe will alter. So it would be if you won or a Solutions Barbados, there are things that they might discover that will alter, right? Because I'm not sure how transparent any ruling party is forced to be. Okay, but so I wouldn't fully agree with you that they don't present a vision, but somehow there is the inability to follow through on that vision for whatever reason. I'm not sure, but we have in the time that we have left, we have I would say spiraling out of control situation of unemployment in Barbados, and people are I would say coming to the point where they're suffering, and prices are increasing. Bajans are savers, and they've been dipping into their savings. What would you do to create employment opportunities in this country?
Okay, well, that on a broad base, and again, what I meant when I said about the vision is that we know that whenever there's a vision, there's always the way to unfold that vision.
Yes.
Okay. Joshua came and said, we're going over in 3 days, and this is how we're going to conquer Jericho, and there was perfect action. I think Kofi Annan made a powerful statement. Not Kofi Annan, sorry, the Dalai Lama. He said, in order for there to be perfect action, there must be perfect vision.
Okay.
And so one of the things that, as it relates to employment, we have to start at the beginning, and we have to start within our school systems. I explained that when I was at the All Saints Boys School, we had woodwork. We had a woodwork teacher. By the time I got to Ellerslie, I knew a lot more in terms of woodwork than most of the kids who were now coming from other secondary schools, because All Saints was one of the only primary schools that actually had a woodwork teacher.
Good school.
You see, fantastic. And
one of the best parishes in Barbados.
yes, it is.
St. Lucie being the best.
I'm holding on to St. Peter.
You see, I grew up in St. Lucie, and I grew up in St. Lucie, and then I spent the rest of my years in St. Peter.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But it's the north. Let's stick with the north. Let's agree it's the north.
Yes. And so within the school systems, in terms of the education, I have to blend education with business. And so it's important that within our school systems, especially the primary school system, that we start training our kids at that level, some level of skill.
I agree.
There.
I admire Guyana for that.
Yes. And the other aspect that I would also start to bring into the primary schools, which is part of our plan, is the area of innovation. That we start teaching kids how to use their minds, how to use their creative processes to create things.
Right.
Okay. The other element is when we find those students who are academically inclined, because the world is changing. There are students who are academically inclined. There are students who are more into gifted in the area of sports and whatever. That we began to look at those areas, and part of what we said we would like to do is to create an in-between system between the secondary schools and the primary schools for those kids who are more advanced, who are showing signs that they can go forward in life. I remember when we were growing up, there was a show called Doogie Howser, MD. This guy who at 15 years old was already a medical doctor.
Right.
And I think we are holding our children back via the current educational structure
so you
that
would
we have.
restructure our educational
I would
system.
restructure the educational system. The world is changing, Apostle, and people are understanding that everybody's not going to be going to UE. There are some people who are going to become singers. There are some people who are going to become skilled in the area of technology, innovation. And a lot of our children, a lot of our youth are on the street with certification, but no skills. Certification, no experience. And there's nothing else that they can do. And also part of our plan to make sure that we create more jobs and create more business is that we begin to look at the area of agriculture on a higher level, on a higher scale, and think about creating avocado farms versus, you waiting on the crop. We create things, systems, and we build so that people can actually begin to learn how to work.
Are we holding on to sugar cane too much?
Sugar is dead, in Barbados. And I think, and again, it's because of not having the vision. When a certain group, they were involved in cotton, the government was in cotton. When they moved into sugar, the government moved into sugar. When they moved into tourism, the government moved into tourism. They move into high-end, the government tries it with high-end. And so there's this system that is leading the country. They're waiting on here to do something, to figure out what they do next. We have to change all of that. And this is where a lot of business is dying, and we can't just wait on our folk to go to Palmarine to learn how to do hospitalities. And we have to look at the idea of making sure that money is spreading around Barbados.
Would you get rid of sugar? You said it's dead. Would you get rid of sugar?
If I have to, I would restructure what we do in the sugar industry.
Okay.
I think it's important that we do that because in many cases, our sugar, branded properly, can be a source of tremendous income.
So you're talking about value-added products coming up?
Yes, most definitely. The quality of sugar that we have in Barbados is second to none. See, and I think if it is branded properly, Barbados can make tremendous money. I mean, the UK, they're no longer asking for, the big quota, and I think Barbados has to look at ways of how we can make ourselves lucrative and productive. And one of the things I want to make sure that I say is that it's time for money to spread around Barbados. That's one of the biggest issues in this country. It's held up, it's blocked up at certain levels, it's not trickling down, and that's why we're having all of the trouble underneath trying to get it. I think those barriers need to be removed, and we need to be able to make Barbados a kind of country that it needs to be. Nobody should have to leave Barbados to become great. Rihanna should not have to leave Barbados to become great, but unfortunately, that's how we have it. America painted itself as a land of opportunity. Barbados has to become the Caribbean place of opportunity. We have to make sure we do what is necessary to make this country rich, that money is flowing across Barbados and our people have it, and things will begin to change.
But we don't have a lot of time, but there's so many things I want to ask you. So let's just talk for a couple of minutes about tourism.
Yes, sir.
Tourism has been the lifeblood. You've already revamped agriculture. We've created value added to our sugar industry. You've mentioned avocado farms. I am with you on the avocado farms because I love avocados, so I'll probably plant my house next to the avocado farm, right? So, innovative things. We've touched the educational system, which is fundamentally important if you're going to change anything. So let's talk a bit about tourism, and maybe we'll get in health if we can. But let's talk a bit about tourism. Is there anything there that you see needs changing?
Yeah, what I see in terms of changing our tourism market is this idea that our tourism brand needs to be in certain nations. Okay,
Okay.
and we need to be looking for a certain individual. You know, somebody who's never been to Barbados, or so. You know, we're bragging about the numbers coming in, but in reality, a person who comes into Barbados via flight and then goes straight to the port and get on a on a cruise liner, I wouldn't count that as you know the tourism market, because they're not stopping here to spend anything.
Okay.
So what I think we need to do is that we need to get into America, we need to get into Canada, we need to get into the rest of the world and say, hey, look, let's talk to these black folk across the world who've never been here. Let's rebrand to the point that a tourist is not necessarily somebody who's white. See, and look at ways of how we can generate more income. Look at tourism on the scale. The individual who can't come to Barbados and stay at the Hilton. Let's work with our hotels that have the room occupancy and the rate that individuals can handle on different scales. And let's deal with those individuals who can stay at the Hilton, who can stay at the Crane, and even those who can stay at Sandy Lane. But we have to make our tourism market, we have to scale our tourism market, because you know a person who's going to come, they're going to be at an all-inclusive hotel, and they're going to go to the near Chefette. You know.
Do we need to improve our tourism plan? I mean, because in some areas it's pretty warm. Do we need to do that?
We definitely need to, and as I said, rebrand what we're doing in terms of our tourism market, because there are things here that definitely needs to be changed, and we need to have the guest houses, the hoteliers, all of those individuals need to have a clear plan of what needs to be done. We have to get to them and we have to look and say, okay, this is what you're going to need to upgrade. This is what you're going to need to do, because we're going to be getting the people coming. We have to make alliances with new airlines and stop working with the CMO. We have to restructure the entire system so that it works better and we get out of it what we want from it.
What would the government need to do to facilitate that? Some of the smaller hotels, the guest houses, you know, they may not have the disposable income to upgrade their plans. What do you think the government's involvement should be in helping them?
I think they, on a governmental level, again, the need for the provision of finances and also the provision of, here's the plan that we have for you at your level. And at this level, this is how we need you to look. This is how we need you to be operating, okay? In other words, we have to get rid of anyhow across the board. You have to get rid of unsightly conditions, unhealthy conditions, and then the lack of professional service.
So you're talking about the development of a national standards policy as far as the operations of a hotel is concerned.
As far as the operation, every hotel, well, no matter what size you are, this is your standard for operation, and anything below that, we're not going to have it.
Wow, it's very. I mean, we have about 3 minutes left. If we can cram health care into 3 minutes. If your people are your greatest national resource, then they must be healthy.
Yes, sir.
We have, escalating debt at the QEH. We have challenges with the plant, the plant there, and some of the equipment there, etc. Because obviously financing and personnel to fix some things. What would you do to improve the healthcare system of Barbados?
Again, restructuring the entire healthcare area. One of my plans really is that every child born in Barbados will have an insurance policy at birth.
Okay.
Okay, and monies will be paid into that, and that's why we have to work.
Where did this money come from? Where would this money come from?
This is where we now work with the businesses, the offshore companies. I was talking about investing in Barbados and where we're going. That by 18, whenever these kids are ready to go on to UE or whatever, that money is there. Okay, so the other area that I would be very interested in working in is turning the QEH. The first thing that we would look for is we need a new hospital, by the way. First of all, we need a brand new state-of-the-art hospital that is not just a hospital, but it is also a research development.
Would you put it on the same site, or are you going to relocate it?
No, it's not. No. Definitely relocation.
Okay.
Definitely relocation.
And what are we going to do with this one?
Well, this one I can actually, part of what we have, and there are a lot of things I can't share, is to turn this into actually a place where individuals can go for their therapy. We'll restructure it and give it to those individuals.
Rehabilitation
unit. We'll give it to a place, help individuals to go in there to help with aerobics, to help individuals, so that there's not a whole crap situation going on there at the QEH. So I have some plans, obviously I can't.
Yes, I understand. Is there room for medical tourism in Barbados?
Oh, huge room for medical tourism in Barbados, and I think again on restructuring, and so you're pulling from in terms of some of the things that we have. But I think that the idea of individuals that they have, that once you get sick in Barbados, try to get out of Barbados.
Right.
Barbados is the amputation capital of the world. You have to change that stigma about what you're doing.
Right.
And so it's always important to bring a new awareness, a new idea, so innovation to what you're doing, so that people understand, hey, you know what? They have a chronic research development center over here for this particular area. Cancer Treatment Centers of America, they have all the state-of-the-art equipment to deal with cancer. Barbados should have a state-of-the-art facility dealing with diabetes. Mm-hmm. But we don't have it, and so a lot of people are dying, and a lot of people are.
And we have fantastic doctors.
We have fantastic doctors in Barbados.
Fantastic medical professionals. Yes.
But again, the vision.
Yeah.
The vision is lacking,
Mm-hmm.
and if we get those things in place, and that's one of the reasons why Sandy Crest does so well, because it has all of the state-of-the-art equipment that they need. And so I think if we think about taking our healthcare system to the maximum level that it needs to go to, our people will be comfortable in the level of treatment that is being offered here, and people from around the world will not panic if something happens to them in Barbados.
Wow.
But let me add to that quickly. A part of my plan for St. Peter is to have I'm going to be working at having a fire station in St. Peter,
Okay.
and also St. Peter's own 24-hour ambulance service operating from St. Peter. So you never have to worry about an ambulance coming from St. Michael to St. Peter to get back to St. Michael. So we're going to these are things that we need to be looking at and putting in place to make things better for our people.
Well, it has been great chatting with you.
Yes, sir.
It has been great chatting with you. I wish you all the best, new Barbados Kingdom Alliance.
Yes, sir.
As you field your candidates in the next general election, whenever the bell is rung.
Yes, sir.
Whenever the bell is rung, I'm sure you will be prepared. But we'll have you back for in a different forum on this program.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for coming. God
Appreciate
bless
it.
you. God bless your ministry. God bless your family.
Thank you, sir. And I like your shirt.
Yes, we had the same idea.
This is actually the color for the new Barbados Kingdom Alliance. So
royal color.
yes, sir.
Well, we
Appreciate
have
it.
been talking to Apostle Lynroy Scantlebury, the leader of World Harvest Ministries International, and the executive director of Scantlebury Investments, and the founder of the New Barbados Kingdom Alliance political party, vying in the next election, vying in the last election, vying
Yes, sir.
in the next election, and he is going to be contending for the St. Peter's seat.
That's correct.
And we wish him all the best in his upcoming in his endeavors. Certainly a visionary person, and you'll be hearing a lot more from the candidates that are running in the next general election on this show. So stay tuned. Like our Facebook page, the Rosehill channel. Visit us, share it, so that people will hear these discussions. Thank you for joining us, and remember, please pray for your brothers and sisters across the Caribbean who have been hit by these hurricanes. Wherever you can give, and whenever you can go. God bless you. Have an exciting night. Thanks for joining us on the Rosehill channel. Next week, we're going to have another exciting guest. Join us then, and that is going to be our final program until November the 15th, when we rejoin you with a new format and exciting new programming. God bless you. Have a wonderful night.